This session will be moderated by Hasifa Selawala, the Director of Sales, Middle East and Africa, powered by Zebra Technologies, and of course, my very beautiful co-host, Katie. Over to you guys on the Conclave.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And we are amidst the thought leadership of the industry. You see the gathering around this table are the leaders who have led the business through the trying times, through the change, and are now facing the new challenges around the new age customers. So the objective of this roundtable is to actually understand how these leaders think, what are their thought process, what are their leadership styles that makes them effective. Sometimes they fail, sometimes they succeed. But then it's about taking the best practices that each of these leaders bring onto the table. So with that, we have looked at the theme of the new age customer. And as we have defined that this new age customer thinks differently, wants things their way, it's their choice, and how do we as an industry react to that changing need of the new age customers? So we will start this discussion with a few, I would say, thought-based questions, and then we will keep it free for the panelists to respond to some of these questions. So let me start my first question with Avijit Yadav, who is CEO at the Tandeem Mall Management. Avijit, good morning. So Avijit, you are part of mall management, which means you have a fixed asset. So you have a building which is already defined in terms of the square foot, the square meters, and now you need to change the concept of that space to drive or to attract the new age customers. So when we looked at some of the changes that you did, such as food hall, sports anchor mall, mother and baby lounge, how effective were these, and how have these decisions helped you address the new age customers?
Well, thank you very much for having me here. I just want to tell you that it's a fixed building, but it's you can still modify it, you can still expand it, you can still do things within it. So the important thing is to keep watching what the customers want, and keep thinking way ahead. It's not like you decide today what the customer wants and you do something tomorrow, but you make the changes over a period of time. Like when we launched 360 Mall, it was a luxury mall. And we were watching what's happening outside our door. There was a tennis complex which was in distress. So we presented to the government, took over that facility, built the tennis complex, built a hotel, put in the Rafa Nadal Academy, and made it, and retail and car parking, made it a sports anchored project. So we moved from a luxury mall to a lifestyle destination. This didn't happen overnight. This happened over 5 to 7 years of thinking of what needs to be done and what the customer is thinking about and changing. You mentioned the food hall. It's very interesting. We were desperate to get a food hall into the mall, and we were talking to international, partners, but it was not working out commercially. And then we came up with this idea that Kuwaitis are really good at entrepreneurs in food, but they cannot pay mall rents. So we built a food hall designed by Kuwaitis, only for Kuwaiti entrepreneurs. It's one of the most successful food halls that I've seen. I've seen food halls in Europe and America, a hugely successful food hall, especially because it's without alcohol, without many other things that make food halls successful. So these are some of the things. You keep your ear to the ground. You keep watching. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You have to keep running and keep watching what's going on, and making sure that you deliver way ahead of what the customer is expecting today, because that's where they're going. So that's what we did. One small thing you mentioned about the mother and baby lounge. We had an influencer who came into the mall and she posted. She said, what's the point in going to a mall with a baby when you cannot shop and you cannot take care of your baby? So we sat with her. We designed the food hall with her. The mother and baby lounge with her. It's absolutely 5-star. And now all the malls we have the mother and baby lounge, because mothers need this facility, And it was again just listening to this influencer and making sure that we did what we did.
That's so interesting to hear as well, about how an influencer could make such a big impact. Mohammed, probably best to bring you in on this, another mall guy next to keeping the mall guys together. Talk about...
Nobody from the retail.
Yeah, just stick together. I think we were going to move on to talking about sort of leadership mantras and such, weren't we, with Mohammed? In terms of how do you empower your team then? Like we were speaking obviously earlier for Amjit saying how he's developed this more, but how do you empower your team to make sure that they're sort of up to date with this new age customer? You can pull that microphone right close to you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the questions. Let me tell you a little story. Last April, I turned on age 60 year. And my staff done for me a celebration. Mabruk. Thank you. So as much as I was happy that the celebration done by my teams, I went home thinking about it. Early morning, I wake up, I called the HR guys to my office. I said, guys, do for me quick analysis. Tomorrow I wanted in my desk, what is our average age in the company, with me and without me? And if you are above 40, you are in deep shit. I told that clearly. So next day they said, oh, we are lucky. With you, we are 35. Without you, we are 32. I said, okay, thank God. We are in the age group. We are targeting the business. This is the issue of the country. We are a country, almost 20% are below the 30. That means it's the young generations. Now we open to the world, and the world also along a lot of young people visiting the country. So most of the teams are working with me in the same level, and actually they're more advanced technology than me, I have to admit. How to manage them or how to mentor them, we are not dealing with all those, what we call it, day-to-day macros. There is a KPIs, there is a tools, there is a programs, there is training program, but I'll give you, last week my team was here in Dubai with the RD conference. My team yesterday and today and tomorrow in London with different retail event. I am here, leaving tonight to London. This is how we put them on the network. They are learning the experience with people like the gentlemen here in these halls. And we do a lot of KPIs, monitoring 360 evaluations, feedback. Today, while we are in the speech, I sent some of the quote from the speak to the teams. WhatsApp has become now a part of our technologies, communications, and I could see the reply for maybe 8, 9 about these things. I think the issue is how to empower people by giving them clear vision, what you want, where you want to go, what is your goals, what is your KPIs, and move away from what we call it daily monitoring things. And do evaluations, monthly, quarterly, whatever. And I think the new generation, they are more open to that. Now we have all those technologies. We facing it, ILL and all things. You'll be surprised. Many sessions I attended with different head of the divisions. When I said, in the past, whenever we're discussing a problem or issue, okay, let's call advisor, let's call a consultant, marketing consultant, leasing consultant, construction consultant, whatever.
And they all cost money.
Yeah, cost money. I'm now not surprised. A lot of them, they come, say, this is what the program of IL said, we do this strategy. Yes, there is some not a clear or gray areas, they need to advance this before they go to the real advisor. And I think that's what they're doing in their life. I think the new generation, young generation, they are very ambitious, very lucky. The female side of it also, moving ahead, also in many sectors, marketing, leasing, they're doing great jobs. And always they need just to encourage them and empower them all the times.
Amazing, thank you very much.
So that's interesting, right? You spoke about how your team is in a constant learning journey, and they're attending an ERP conference, as you said, this week as well. The idea is to empower your team so that they're able to face the new age customer, right? And the theme around that would be around customer centricity, because whatever we are doing as leaders is empowering our team to face this new age customers. So Fahad, if I were to ask you this question, success around customer centricity, what are your leadership traits in terms of identifying those points that empower your team to drive that centricity?
Should be on red. There we go.
All right. Happy afternoon. Customers is why we're all today in this room. It's what brings us together. There's nothing that we say that has not already been said. So trying to harness that knowledge and driving simplicity is quite important in a very complex environment. So we are trying, a lot of the buzzwords are quite known to everyone. And this is what I have, that I continue reminding my team is, I'm not going to come up with a new aha moment in terms of knowledge, but it all comes down to that clarity, killing complexity, driving innovation, and driving that culture that revolves around customer centricity. And I was amazed with a post by Sheikh Mohammed a couple of weeks ago, calling out one of his government CEOs for being on the front line. So the question is, what are we doing to implement that customer-centric culture? Driving that empowerment to the front line and hammering that message, trying to really make a difference, to act fast, driving that agility, and delivering on our promise. There's, again, it's not rocket science, but the challenge always is in the complex layers, dashboards, how do we deal with tools, analytics, generative AI, and adopt them. But rather than bringing it from a lens of just having those tools, rather to harness it and ask the question, is it relevant? Will it make a difference in this customer journey or not? So that very simple lens, we call it the CX goggles. So having the goggles to judge any rule, that's the only filter we have. And making sure that we drive that year in and year out is what will drive the difference.
Thank you, Fahad. Interestingly, you mentioned Sheikh Mohammed, but I'll come to that shortly in terms of his thought process and what we have heard generally when he speaks around innovation. But you mentioned AI tools, new technologies, right? And there is always a buzzword. There is always the in thing that, or we say fashion statement that everybody tries to associate with, but very few understand what it means to bring these tools into business environment and make it successful. So I would like to direct this question, obviously, to the most visible phygital store in this region, to Dharmin. Dharmin, you are on the forefront of using some of these tools. We want to understand your perspective around adoption of AI from two sides, giving customers what they want, and then how you are empowering your staff to deliver what the customers want. So over to you, Dharmin.
Sure. Hey, guys. So, AI, even though it's come in right now, ChatGPT, what it did...
Sorry, just bring the microphone a little bit closer to you because we can't hear you. Thank you.
The introduction of ChatGPT last year, around November last year, has actually revolutionized the AI conversations in everybody's mind. So it was already there. People are already using different types of tools, but it wasn't as widespread as we expected it to be. But ChatGPT really put that AI on the forefront for everybody. When we started to research how to use various tools within our business, we realized that there is so many already available which are improving the productivity of every one of our team members, right? We have, just to give you a couple of examples, in our customer happiness teams, we have been able to see a 4x more productivity per person instead of keep having them to do basic jobs, which now, AI is able to automatically respond to, right? It's so amazing the kind of responses and everything else that is getting generated. Simple examples like email responses, right? An email comes in, AI actually generates the response, and all the team does right now is to review the response and presses the send button, right? It has helped them have 4x more productivity, respond faster to the customer, take lesser time to respond to the customer, so on and so forth as well, right? This is just a small example on how we are using this within our own business, right? Even I can give you an example of cataloging, right? We are an e-commerce website, right? So we need to take the products live onto the website, but there's a ton of data points that we need to mention for it to be easier to introduce it to our, for customers to be able to find the product easily. Basic things like saying, hey, listen, I have a gray, black, blue color, but now what we're working on is for customers to be able to say, it's not about, hey, listen, I'm looking for a black dress, but it's about saying, I'm going for a dinner, suggest me a dress. Mm-hmm. Now that's a whole different conversation that we are going to be having with our customer, and that's because of AI tools that we are introducing within our ecosystem, which is just unbelievable the amount of things we are able to do. So the way I look at it is, it helps us as us and our team members become more productive, and it actually helps the customers by getting way better responses from us to be able to shop with us.
Great, thanks, Dharmin. So to summarize that, productivity enhancement for your team, and then customer getting what they want as a result of these implementations, technology implementations, right? So critical to the businesses when they make these decisions about onboarding such automation tools, there's always a question of ROI. So one is good to have, important to have, and do we really need it, and is it really serving the purpose? So my next question would be to you, Neeraj. You have looked at adoption of some demand forecasting tools, and you have looked at price optimization tools, which obviously then takes takes advantage of the latest technologies that are available in the market. As a leader, how are you looking at ROI in terms of business transformation and serving the customer needs?
Thanks, Josefa. So I would say, means a lot of the things which Dharmin mentioned is also part of the wider Apparel group in terms of the digital adoption and taking the things to the next level. In terms of the ROI, we look at two ways. Means one could be the ROI on those things which are more hygiene today. And then there are things which are futuristic. We have adopted a lot of technologies in our business which has increased productivity multifold times. Things like transfer optimization. Before used to be done on manual, on Excel sheets with the individual. Today this is automated. So the systems have all these algorithms and rules-based, which is empowering the teams and making the life easier of people. We have done vendor automation. We have done MPOS at the stores. This has given even more space for us for getting more products and more productivity on the retail stores. We have done frictionless checkout at some of the large stores. We have adopted a lot of those technology, which today have become like a hygiene thing. AI has been in the business for a very long time. So price optimization, demand forecasting, markdown optimization. We have been using these tools now for a couple of years. And we have seen that over a period of time, how they have impacted the results in the business and really taken the productivity of the people on the floor and the productivity and the whole discussion. I mean, people have seen the tangible benefits and the buy-ins which we have got from the people. And now we are looking at more of those advanced technologies to be implemented.
Right. Thanks, Neeraj. So I think while we are all talking about the new age customers and the kind of customers that are talking to us, there has also been an increased awareness around driving needs or address the needs of people of determination. As we start looking at inclusivity, diversity, and all the other aspects of the social status, right, or of the society. So next question to you, Renat. I think you have been doing some work in this area, and do we have some examples of how ROI is being looked at by the leaders when they're addressing specific sections of the society, like people of determination, for example?
Very much so. And this is not so much the reason that...
Sorry, could you turn the microphone towards you? Thank you so much.
Work better now?
Yeah, I think
Wonderful.
so, I hope so.
All those golden nuggets would be missed. So, yes, so very much so. Accessibility and people of determination are really at the forefront of this discussion that is happening at the moment, looking at generative AI, machine learning. So there's a unique opportunity at the moment to merge accessibility. We're talking about new age customers. In this context, I want to really encourage you to see not only new age customers, but new customers. People of determination are empowered. And the very first time since many years, we see a change in this customer base. All of a sudden, people of determination have salaries, they have bank accounts. They are active and empowered consumers. So these are your new consumers. And we talked about age, the youth in our organizations. We also need to talk about an aging population. And this aging population has accessibility needs. So back to your question. Yes, accessibility and people of determination present at the moment a sea change in perception. So accessibility means, in short, there are no barriers to interact with your services, with your products. And accessibility is not an accessory. It's an inbuilt value, not only because you have it ingrained in your corporate's DNA as a CSR. It's coming to you in many other ways. It's coming to you in terms of consumer protection regulation. It's coming to you in terms of digital accessibility regulation. Look at Europe. The entire Europe is now struggling with implementing the European Accessibility Act. They have exactly from today 2 years to ensure all companies need to provide accessible services. And this is a move that comes to the region as well. So our point is accessibility is a business case, also in terms of investment. We talked about AI. And this is my last thought on this. AI has an inbuilt unconscious bias against people with disabilities, against people from vulnerable consumer groups who are not that tech savvy. So when you think about investing in AI, it's really important that you speak with experts. What about voice recognition, for example? You have someone with a speech impairment. We spoke about automatic production of catalogs. Do you have alternative text that allows someone using a screen reader to access your products? So these are all the questions that are relevant for revenues, for conversion, and for customer satisfaction.
Great. We spoke about people of determination. You highlighted that the profile has changed. They now have bank accounts. You see them increasingly doing transactions, possibly a trend which was not there a decade ago. We all have experienced after the COVID, the transformation. It came, I would say it was actually disruption, and then disruption expedited what we call transformation. And some of the businesses that really went through that transformation journey and succeeded in terms of being able to offer new services, which can be availed by people of determination, is e-commerce. So if I turn my attention to, let's start with Halima first, on e-commerce. Use of technology in e-commerce. What challenges you went through when you looked at your business pre-COVID, post-COVID, and if there is any inclusion of people of determination in your business plan. I think, with the tools available, it becomes more accessible to them, so they are able to transact better. But let's go back to the core question: is your view on pre-COVID, post-COVID, and how you went through that transformation, or you led that transformation in your company?
Right. So thank you everyone for coming here and listening to this. This topic is very passionate and close to us, right? Because like you said, we were there pre-COVID, and then we went through the difficult time of COVID to come out. And especially when a company of our size has the volume of data that it does in the shopping behavior and the patterns, and you think of AI, it's a very exciting space to be in, and everyone in the team is wanting to do so much. And I have to constantly remind them of the ethics and the values that we had in our heart when we started the business pre-COVID, that it's our customer centricity before anything else. So we want to use the AI to increase revenue, but not bombarding them with buy this and buy that and how do you grow the top line, but be very sensitive to maybe something like, maybe at 9 p.m. our consumers are moms who don't want to have this extra advice and leave them alone. So it's a balance. It's a balance between having a culture of tech and a culture of customer centricity. Our graphics designer often reminds me, Halima, it's people before technology. As much as we have respect for ChatGPT, we also value the ability to pick up the phone and answer that question and have a voice-to-voice connection, because someone rightly said that for small entrepreneurs with small budgets, our customers are our free consultants. So to let that information go is not really so wise. And when we started this journey about 7 years ago, at that time in the market, e-commerce was predicted to come in 13 years later. Now, how do I know this? I know this because there was a Japanese automation firm rolling around the market, and I was like, what are you guys doing here? I mean, I was interested because I was seeing the future. And he's like, I'm pitching. Pitching to who? Oh, these big boys. And like, why are you not successful? Why am I your only customer that you have time for? Oh, they don't see this coming for 13 years. So that was the space with which we started, right? And of course, COVID sort of pushed it forward, and we have so much more. So there are a few things. What I would say is that not for the relatively big people here, but for the budding entrepreneurs, technology investment is it's a lifestyle, it's a journey. You've got to take one step at a time and think about what's right for your business that year. You can't do everything in 1 year. So you've got to prioritize your tech journey. You can't jump, in my opinion, into AI that's driving your top line if you don't have your cost controls in place. Someone said over here very well that they looked into reducing increasing the productivity and reducing the workload within. And so that's what we've done. For example, our drivers app was the first app we developed in Kibsons, not the e-commerce app that you see today. Our pickers app was the second app that we developed in Kibsons because we wanted to make pickers' lives easy and to have that control over expiry dates not leaking out. Why? Because we and my challenge is to embed customer centricity at every point of the organization. So there's no point in us having ChatGPT and a fantastic, well-spoken customer service team when our receiving team is letting bad quality come through. So you stop it right there. You say, no, would this quality be be acceptable by the customer? So every point along the way, you've got to think, you've got to embed that customer centricity in your mind, right? That, for a leader, is the hardest thing to do because you can't really put it on a presentation point that your frontline can understand. It's got to be in your mannerism and how you behave and how you talk and what you do on a day-to-day, what language it is, what tools you give them. So Pickers was the next app for us. And even more recently, what we did is we said, hey, and I had to push back very gently because everybody was driven by the behavior pattern study, right? We said, you know what, why don't we look at how we procure? So out of our 10,500 SKUs that we have on board, 8,000 are being procured by the system. Why? Not because we want to be smart, but because we want to control the costs, because this is a cost competitive market. Our customers value every dirham. How do we know this? Because we use the data and observe behaviors. For example, I drop the price of strawberries by 1 dirham and the sales actually picks up, which is still bizarre. I don't understand it, but that's what it is.
Because they're expensive. And we're very happy when you reduce the prices.
Yes, and so these customers are not necessarily loyal to the Kibsons brand. They are loyal to quality. They are loyal to price. So we've got to keep the price under control, and every dirham makes a difference internally as well. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a balance of driving that through the entire wing-to-wing process, both on technology and customer centricity.
Great. It's an interesting one from my side because I'm not in the retail industry. I am your consumer. In fact, I'm a consumer of pretty much every brand here, which is actually now why I actually wanted to move on to Halima because I am a sumo sushi. I think I probably got shares in your business. A salmon sushi bento box is my favorite. I find it really interesting how even with an F&B outlet, how does this kind of technology affect your ROI and the implementations that you've done within the business? How's that affected your ROI?
To be honest, it's not really measured. It's kind of, I'm originally from Hawaii, and we have a saying that we have to operate from our na'au, from our gut.
Okay.
And it's really, I try to approach with everything in the business curiosity and a seek to understand. So with our customers, back in the day, I'm not even sure I'm answering the question properly.
That's fine,
but
we're enjoying it, it's fine.
With curiosity and understanding who our customer and the new customers are, back in the day, how inappropriate it was, we would mark down manually how many Arabs we thought we had, how many expats we thought we had, what ethnicity they were. You can't do that anymore. Our new age customers aren't an ethnicity. They're not a nationality. They're not a demographic. New age customers, I think the term is psychographics, where we look at purchase behavior and trying to get all that data. And then from the data, you can try and interpret some kind of ROI.
So you don't mind, as in where they're from, what language they speak, what their culture background is. You want to know about their buying habits.
Their buying habits, and beyond that, what do they, customer-centric is key. Are we providing what the customer wants from a pricing perspective, from a quality standard, from an efficiency? Are they getting their sushi in the time that was promised?
Interesting.
Thank you. I think just picking up from what you said, Julianne, to the rest of the panel here, right? There will be specific questions, but we are here to capture your thoughts as leaders. So it's about how you have led the change and how you are leading your organization, empowering your team, and meeting the customer expectations. That's the central theme of this conversation. So please feel free to put your thoughts. Don't be bound by the structure of the questions. Since we talk about leadership, the minute people talk about leadership, it's always about success stories, right? And I have had an opportunity to sit through one of Mr. Tawhid's presentation, where he did not start with his success stories. He started with his failures. And he was very passionate in terms of describing why he failed, how he failed, because that's what made him succeed. And I believe in everything that we do today, whatever we aim for, failure and success are part of the story. So to you, Mr. Tawhid, if you can share with all of us your failure first, and then tell us how that motivated you to drive the success thereafter.
Well, thank you very much. I'm here because I respect Retail Me. And I'm here because last time when we have had the meeting and I talk about the story I went through, yes, it was a failure. The reason for the failure was nothing to do with the business per se. It was for the compliance issue and so on. So I surrendered that, and we gave away a company which we built for over 100 years with a great success, but no regrets has happened since that time, and the only things came in is the challenge. Okay, we let go, thank you very much. We have made the company together with my brothers. We are going to rebuild another company, but a small difference. 40 years, we want to make it in 8 years. How we do that? That goes back to all the questions, why everybody is here, why everybody is looking, how to empower the people, how to do. And we came, in our industry, actually, it's one of the last to come in technology, the last to come in entrepreneurship, last to come in professional, because it's a passionate business. You have to have the passion, the profession of a jeweler, and so on. So I thought, why should not I go, being a CEO, and at the same time, some, with all the respect to the people here, some of them are CEO of companies. So is it a privilege to be a CEO for your own company, or is it not a privilege? That's something we all have to evaluate, and you could do 10 good things and 1 bad things, and the owners or the directors come and say, thank you very much, you have done a great job, we will look for somebody else, you are fired from tomorrow. So that difference is there when you are your own CEO. So what happened, what I'm here today to answer part of these questions, is we came with the most shortcut. And we say, guys, we cannot make this company restart with 40 years to go to 8 years unless we have the team, the manpower, the partners, the employee, the managers. And we said, you know what, let us look from a very shortcut way. We don't want CEO, we want partners. We don't want shop manager, we want partner. I don't want a salesman, I want a partner. I do not want an accountant, I want a partner. We are about 1,000 people on the company, but we are 1,000 partners. I failed to be in a public company, but I succeed to be in a private partnership program with my team. So it goes this way, very simple, otherwise I will deviate all the reason for this meeting. And we said, you know guys, we have very few components. Is capital, cost money, CapEx, cost money, running the business cost money, employee, and so we don't need this to be lectured, but what we say is the ROI. How we are going to do the ROI? I say, look, take a basic salary. That goes without saying because you need. And for the rest of that, after you depreciate, you amortize, you pay interest, you pay whatever is their actual cost, and the rest, let's share it together. 25%, 35%, 15%, back office at 10%, and we sat down and we start bringing the empowerment of partnership. We sit down, as a CEO, I don't have a final say. The final say comes with the conclusion of my team. And since that time, in a very short span of time, we have rebuilt the company almost the size and bigger of the previous company in a time of 8 years. And everybody is not working under my instruction. We are working as a team. We come to a conclusion, is this the right way to do? I think you're okay, decide, let's do it and let's execute. So we all become on the company as executor to a management decision rather than the CEO. The CEO is part of that. And that's what I want to convey to the esteemed audience here, that we need to start looking of the benefit of everybody on the company to be able to achieve that raise of hand. You need to do a little bit more, and that makes the difference. And in my company, in my partnership with all my staff, with all my managers, is this what we have done? I hope this can give some positive feeling to the rest of you. Thank you.
Lovely.
Absolutely. Thank you for that wonderful story. As we say, it's always easy to sail the sailing ship, but to kickstart the journey is always difficult. So you have been in the forefront of that. So it's interesting. You spoke about empowerment of your people through stakeholdership.
Purely empowerment of people.
Right.
We are there in management to define, is it the right empowerment, up to what limit, and so on. But the empowerment is the secret to this, what we are doing today, what we would like that other people to, give it maybe a small thought, but
it's an interesting word though, isn't it? Because it's a buzzword, isn't it? Empowerment.
True. And, I was having a chat with Mohammed some time ago, and he's a very structured person. So Mohammed would like to look at a structured way of development. And Mohammed, you had some thoughts on the development process, right? So on one side, we are empowering people, but in order to get the best out of them, there is a structure that you were talking about that we need to put in place as leaders to drive that empowerment and see that that gets translated into a productive way for the business. So could you elaborate on that, Mohammed?
In the last 2 years with our new project, which just celebrated the breakground in Abha, we decided not to go on the conventions of development structures. We know there is best use, there is a consultant for engineering, there is design firm, there is all those elements. We cannot, as we call it, the basic pillars for this business. But we decided to go a little bit in innovation way of doing that. So we established a teams, and the teams went through what we call it, what is the new way forward for development in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is going through a big change now on all the projects, and actually we are within a school of thought of different development. We see the NEOM, we think NEOM will change if it succeeds, the meaning of urban development. It's a new tunnels, 170 kilometer, 250 the depth, the height is 500, something like the Great Wall of China, and in between 9 million people. Now, how it is going to work? There is, I think, over 40 or 80 number A class consultants from the whole world working on that exercise. If this is succeed, and inshallah will succeed, this will change many old school in development. This is what we're doing exactly within the small company, in our company. We reviewed the urban code of Asir region. Asir region, they have an urban code for development. We went through innovation teams with operations, how to avoid mistake. We done it in the past in our development. We keep doing mistakes in the technology we use, in the design we done, and things. We went through also what is the best now, what you call it, the best way of developing and method of development. In our project, they talking about 3 years of development, mixed use, 1 billion project, 2 hotels, and this, and that. We came that there is a lot of things to could do. Improve the design, improve the operations, improve the cost of the operations. That's very important because operation cost is increasing, so that's we have a lot of options. It's come technology, solars, all the other things. Also, we find ignoring your customer, the regions, people, what they want and where they want, it's a beginning of failure in any development. We done a lot of workshops through Asir Development Authority with the people, with certain families, with certain peoples, and they came with thought what they are missing. We went against Asir region is one of the, what we call it, manpower storage. A lot of young boys and girls are moving to work in the region, so we decided to have a youth centers powered by the Munshaat. Munshaat is like the Muhammad bin Rashid Youth Organization, where they're going to have a center inside to do sort of incubator for different business. I think development with the old fashions, it's over now. We need to do it since we have all those intelligent informations. And I think going through using the IA and all those things that we are learning a lot from all the world, what they done in the past, what they failed, what they succeed. And let's start from what succeed and is it working for our country or not working for our society. Other things, Abha is not anymore going to be a local destination alone. It used to be 3-4 months in the summer. People from Saudi, people from GCC, they like it to be something like Salala. It's a resort where people, they go in the mountain, greenery, rain all the summertime. We're 15 in Jeddah or Mecca, it's 21 in Abha, raining of the year. But the government is doing another strategy, huge strategy, building a new airport, connecting Europe to Abha direct. There is transferring the 3 months resort to full year tourist hiking, sport, resort, spa. Big pictures is going down. BIF there. So it will be stupid from us to develop a project without what we're looking for the big picture, 2030, what is going to be happening in that area. Now, our development, I could say, we done our homework, interviewing government, authorities, tourism board, tourism, Minister of Tourism, BIF, they are there and we are meeting that. And we came with what we call it a sustainable project in our development, beside the basic items to do. And I think that's what we need to look in all our development. Our development shouldn't be just a chart in front of us. I done quantity survey, I done design firm, I done leasing strategy. This is nice. You have to do it and improve it, but you need to do a lot of other things to put it together and to come with a sustainable project for the people of the region you are serving.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. So you spoke about new way of development, and then towards the end you spoke about the transformation of Aba from being a local destination to an international destination. And you did say you did touch upon the magnitude of the projects that are taking place, right? And then the question is, Why are we doing this? What's going to be the outcome of that? Interestingly, Avijit, while as I was interacting with you, you mentioned about leasing that big 70,000 square meter land right in the middle of pandemic, when everybody is looking at reducing costs, cutting down whatever operational aspects of their business, or resize their business to meet the demands of the economy then. Right. You went out and you leased that plot.
Yes.
Right? And I think you had PwC consulting you guys on that one. Yeah. What was the whole rationale behind that decision?
Well, we are quite shocked that we managed to lease it. So, but it's good news at the end of it. We didn't have a concept, so we were struggling to find a concept. And we dealt with PwC, who kept telling us that, a mall 1 hour outside town on the border with Saudi Arabia can only be an outlet mall. So we said, yeah, it makes sense, but we didn't need to pay you a couple of $100,000 to get that information. We already knew that, right? So we went back and tried to think things intuitively without them. And there was this debate which continued from, it used to be with the owners and the team, constantly saying it's going to be a regular mall, but yeah, where's the customer for a regular mall? An outlet mall, yes, but you cannot build a 70,000 square meter outlet mall because outlet malls should be around 25,000 square meters, 25 to 30,000 square meters. So we went up and down, and then, just by chance, a few of us visited a kind of a hybrid mall. We visited a hybrid mall in Canada, and we said, this is a great idea, where you have multiple offerings in the same mall. PwC was not happy about that, but we were really happy. We said, this has been done by Simon. It's working. Why should we not bring this concept to this part of the world? Then we discussed with people like our friend here. We discussed with, Avi Alkas here, there, etc. We said, there are people in the industry who think it's a good idea. And then we began to work with CRTKL and putting the plan in place. And we said, this is not going to be, like an outlet village. It's going to be a beautiful mall. It is going to have an outlet component. It is going to have a strong F&B component. It has got now, I think, the biggest marina in the GCC. It's got around 900 boats, right now, fronting the mall. There is a landscape garden in front, which has been done by PHP, the same guys who did Ground Zero in New York, right? So we got the best people, and we just launched the mall. But the thing is, when you put the story together and we went to people, it's surprising how people responded. I mean, there is one company which actually signed on 25% of the gross leasable area of retail without visiting the site, right? So I asked the question, I said, why did you do this? He said, well, because I trust you and I trust the group. I trust this group because I don't think you're going to be taking us for a ride. And this was just after we had, in the pandemic, told all our retailers that we will not charge you any rent if the mall is closed, and we will give you a 40% discount for 6 months as soon as the mall is open on your rent. So, you got to put your money where your mouth is, and, retailers see that. So as the story began to unfold, the price in that part of Kuwait went up by almost 40% for land. So people began to invest. So rich people began to come into that area. The story kind of evolved as we went along, and it went from strength to strength. So it's not conventional, as you put things down, you'd put anchors in place. It just kind of evolved, and it went from strength to strength, and it just became a case study. So it worked for us, and we leased the mall. It was, I think, 91% leased when we sort of launched the mall on 30th of April. But it's continued to evolve because we were going to build something on parcel 2. And what's happened is, in this period of the pandemic, Apparel became such a big success that we are now building a sports facility next to the mall, right? So it's going to have Apparel, it's going to have drive-through, it's going to have, so it's evolved. Now it's evolved on one side. On the other side, you find in Kuwait that people love to go and camp in the desert. So they have caravans, and people, they invest. So we are using the other side as a caravan park, Now, it's very rare that you'll find a retail, or a real estate developer saying, let's build a caravan park next to a mall, because this is what the Kuwaitis love to do. So it has been a kind of an evolutionary kind of a thing where we have been very flexible and we have been accommodating and listening to retailers, and sometimes not listening, but quite often listening. And we've got entertainment, we've got leisure, we've got sports, all this together with the border with Saudi Arabia. We had the Public Investment Fund visit us. There's a company which is developing Khafji, which is across the border. So they came and made a beautiful presentation to us saying, we are building Khafji. We said, we are building Kiran. So why don't you invest? We said, no, you invest where? You are investing, we'll invest where? And let's try and work together. And it becomes a bigger experience for the Saudi Kuwaitis and the Kuwaiti Saudis, So it's just evolved, I think you need to keep... Yeah. Yeah. So the company I'm talking about is Apparel. Apparel signed 25% in one sitting in the third meeting. So, it was for us a leap of faith. It was trust. And I think if you work collaboratively with your retailers, you'll always be a win-win. I mean, I asked the owners I work with, I said, why 40% discount? Why not 37%? Why not 45%? He said at 40%, they will live and we will also live. Right? And at 50%, they will live, we will die. So let's all live, So that's the story of that.
Very, very inspiring, right? 70,000 square meters of land, no concept. And then the concept evolves. And important is the decision making at that point of time. You have this big land, and you took advantage, I believe, of the commercials at that point of time, and then drove it. How are we doing on time?
No clue. Don't know who's timing. Who's timing? How long have we got on time? We've got another 25 minutes.
Great.
Then let's a lovely time.
Let's make this more exciting. So these are exactly some kind of thought process questions that we would like to ask, and we would like you to, I would say, bring your thoughts out so that the audiences can learn from it. He spoke about no concept, Avijit. So, Fahad, I'm going to ask you the next question, right? You, at Majid Al Futtaim Lifestyle, I mean, you are focusing on concepts, you're focusing on experiential retail. I think the subject of omni-channel driven customer journey is very close to your heart.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it's important to have clear purpose and a clear vision. And 5-6 years ago, we were losing that relevance in the market. So we were purely bricks and mortar, and we were presenting a certain set of brands to the consumers. A lot of it is old retail, good names that you know, but there's no newness. And in the age of omni-channel, your competition is not regional. So we launched...
Could you turn the microphone directly to your mouth? Because
All
they're
right.
trying to turn it up.
Sorry.
Perfect, thank you.
So we started, we defined our strategy 5 years ago of becoming an omni-channel retailer. And that's when our pivot started. We went from bricks and mortar to pure omni-channel. We launched our first website in 2019, Crate and Barrel, which today is around 20% of our business for home. We are now with 18 websites and digital channels, and we're in line to launch another 10 more. So that transformation journey started with different lines. One is a cultural transformation, to be able to change your mindset, driving learning agility. I come from an old bricks and mortar business. So to learn and embrace digital, where I knew absolutely nothing, was quite important. So building the muscle of learning agility, being able to unlearn and be open to learn new ways was quite important. Welcoming and finding the balance of upskilling existing while still attracting relevant talent was also quite important in that journey. So we had our cultural transformation, our digital transformation, and our CX transformation, because we wanted to make sure as we're bringing digital, we're actually bringing relevance. So, I was sharing with my team yesterday in one of the sessions, a Formula One record for changing tires. So a normal human being takes 15 to half an hour to change one tire. The world record for changing 4 tires is sub 2 seconds. 1.88 to be frank, and I think that's already broken. So what technology is important and how do you bring it? So it's not the obsession with digital tools, but it's the right tools. And moving from the obsession of creating dashboards into bringing data-driven decisions and insights. So my team on our weekly trade meetings took 2 days to develop the reports. When we came to the room, they were so tired because they had to deal with the challenges of collecting the data from multiple systems that don't work perfectly. And they're stressed out that I will come up with a different question. And I always did. And I had a complaint. They said, Fahad, you keep changing the ask. Every time you ask us something different. And I said, well, we should be able to look at the data sets differently to understand and stay relevant. Today, it takes us 1 second to generate a report that took us 2 years. So it is possible, but it has to be used in the right way. Now, we brought a lot of those understanding and trends and launched that concept store, which is what we think is the future of retail. We also brought experiential retail in all our other businesses. So we were the first to launch Lego Store of the Future in the Remaya region, which immediately resulted in a 60% uplift of sales. So customers don't just want product, they want to interact with people. So I agree with you. We shouldn't be over-obsessed with digitizing everything. Clienteling is a buzzword today, and clienteling is about building that human connection, listening to your customers, who should always be your consultants. And I don't think your advice, Halima, applies only to small companies. It's actually very relevant to big companies, is to keep that entrepreneurial mindset. Keep your feet on the ground and not just be obsessed with launching newness. It's about harnessing all of that power, bringing relevance. And experiential retail is a very big word, but we, I think, found a good balance of bringing that relevance in our Lego stores of the future, in that concept store, both online and offline, in Lululemon stores that we engage with our communities. So it's important, again, what is it that you bring to the communities? So the physical store kind of complemented a digital journey where we interact with the physical space and we go above and beyond. So the journey continues on social media, on TikTok, and it's the same messaging. Rather than a fragmented universe, it's important to bring it together, again, simplifying it and making it seamless to our customers.
Fahad, interesting you pointed out, right, your journey from being very familiar with brick and mortar and then being moved into this transformation. And you had very limited time to get yourself acquainted, understand how it's done, and then drive your leadership in order to lead the team. And in that process, you did speak about how stressed your teams would get trying to get reports across to you, and the new data-driven way in which the reports have become more easier, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, we talk also about the concept of operational excellence. And I'm obsessed with mechanical watches. And the output of a watch is not time, it's accurate time, right? And to get accurate time, every component in that mechanical watch is as important. So, because if any piece fails, the output will be mixed. And going back to Tawhid's point, as a CEO, we only do one part of that whole process. We're not more important. We might be more visible, but we have a role to play in terms of facilitating, empowering, helping that consultative decision making. And in retail, our output, we say, is creating great moments. So that's where we bring the customer centricity is, are we operationally excellent? Are we delivering consistently every time? Because we're not. I don't think we are. And that's another challenge I bring to my team. And the example I use is McDonald's. So if I believe everybody has been to a McDonald's at one point in your life. And the first question they ask you after you order your Big Mac meal is, do you want to upsize? And they consistently ask you this question. Whether you're in Delhi, you're in Paris, whether you're in Texas, in Dubai, anywhere in the world, regardless of the caliber, because we tend to give an excuse. New employee, new process, etc. But that's a very simple example where 100% of the time, McDonald's deliver on that promise. While my data collection is up to 80%. Why should it be 100%? So it's important to understand the role of that operational excellence chain and defining those roles to help us deliver again consistently every time on our promise to our customers.
Thank you, Fahad, for sharing that and sharing a perspective of how you look at leadership. I think Watch was a good example, how all the components need to work to deliver on time. So if we speak about the leadership approach, Dharmin, question to you. Your unique style of leadership, how do you look at leadership and success or failures associated with it?
So I'm going to actually start with data as the key point and component, because for us, what we have done is we have done democratization of data, right? So data used to be only available to some people. Reports were available to some people, right? It's no more the case, and it's like you have access into the database, and now you can generate the information the way you like to, based on the situation you are in, right? So it's the democratization of data has been the biggest change or the biggest win for us. That's been an important aspect, right? And that's where the leadership had to come in, right? You know, we had in our business, we decided to ensure that there is no conversation that, hey, I didn't know this because this data is not available, right? It always is available. It's now on you to be able to take smart decisions behind it, rather than trying to just figure out where is the data and what's going on and where is the report and what's happening with that, right? So that's an important aspect. In regards to another aspect, failure is actually the most important aspect within the business as well. So we allow our people to always fail and constantly fail. To be honest, it's important to keep failing all the time, continuously, right? Because if you're not failing, one, you haven't pushed the boundaries enough. You've been in a safe zone all the time, right? So if you're not failing, you're not pushing the boundaries. If you're not failing, you're not learning either. You did one thing and now you thought that this is the success formula and you just keep repeating that forever, and it doesn't work like that. It's an ever-changing world. So failing is just as important as winning, right? So obviously you have to have enough wins, right? If you only failed all the time, you're screwed too, right? So that it doesn't work like that. You must win enough times to make sure that there is a success behind it. But failure teaches you, right? You know, it really teaches you how to what went wrong? How did we not think about this, right? Or why did it not work out for us, right? And then how do we then improve from there onward? So these are two important aspects for us, both democratization of data and then acceptance of failure.
Let's call it not succeeding rather than failure.
Yeah. And we talk about failing fast. So this is a concept we make sure, because there's a lot of nervousness with the team. About their stability and retaining of their employment. So again, absolutely right on failure. You have to double the rate of your failure to double the rate of success. But we introduced the concept of failing fast to maintain the ROI, move, get the learnings, and harness it into your next steps. Absolutely.
Yep, I'm glad that we are not covering this live, Dharmin, so your employees are not listening to it. Because if they start listening, failure is acceptable, they take life a little easy.
No. This is acceptable. I don't mind this being live. Everyone knows it in the organization, right? It's okay to fail. It's not a problem. On the contrary, if you haven't, that means, like I told you earlier, you haven't pushed the boundaries.
Even that in itself is incredible leadership, because I believe we're all of this very similar generation where certainly when I was getting into the corporate world, I would never want to fail, or if I did fail, I would never tell my boss and my leaders. And that just shows that around this table and probably in the room as well, that leadership has evolved itself, right? To be, like I said at the beginning, an open door policy to actually say, you know, hands up, I've done something wrong, how do we work on it together? So
very true.
Actually,
I think
if you allowed me, new trend now in HR, there is a KPI for every single employee, but they do now what they call it collective teams KPIs for every unit. And in between, there is a failure in capability of one who could deliver 100 and the one could 80. But in the end, the teams, they could deliver the KPIs toward the organization. And it seems to me this is a new trend. Team KPIs, collective KPIs to supersede personal KPIs. And many organizations, I saw that in Korea and in Japan, they don't believe on individual KPIs in an organization. They believe on a unit, collective KPIs, and they have to deliver together. I support Neeraj to go up 100. He supports me to move out faster. I am not not a sportsman. So all of us in one team, we move together. And this is how they go now, the new trend in HRs. Yeah.
Right.
I think we're out of time.
It's food for thought, you know, and I'll quote you because I'm fighting with my finance to fix the KPI for my team. They are very clear. There can be no overlay. Exactly. That's what we need to do.
And from Tawhid point of view, if you see the structure of all the 4 top auditing firms in the world, they don't use employee. They use partnership in every level, and this is agreeing with the trend he's doing. That's a partner rather than you are employee or staff or director thing.
Great. So if I can also add means at the Apparel Group, we consider the same. So even in our packages across the board, okay, the fixed will be competitive with the market, but the variable will be outliers. And I quote that, variable will be outliers. Every of our people in the team has got variable incentive directly linked to the performance of the organization. Every single one of them.
We show them cost, you don't show them cost.
We show the cost. We are very transparent that way. But Mr. Tawhid, that's how you are able to create entrepreneurs. This is the mindset at the Apparel Group. We want to create entrepreneurs. He talked about failing. Failing is an ingredient towards the success. The R&B would not have reached 125 stores if we would have not promoted the team means and recognized those failures and fixed on the journey. So the important thing is the learnings that we get from the failures. And they said, you need to create entrepreneurs and at every level.
Absolutely.
So that's the mindset. That's the culture. That fosters innovation. That fosters design thinking, critical thinking, how to solve the problem of the new age consumer. What else can you bring? And that's an ecosystem that you need to create.
100% agree.
Right, I think that's a key takeaway, apart from everything else that we have discussed, is the collective KPI versus the individual KPIs that used to be the practice in the past. And I think from what Tawhid, you said, Tharmin, you have said, and you have spoken about, is empowerment. And again, Fahad also touched upon that empowerment of the people. You are sharing the data, you are empowering them more and more so they're able to drive their own decisions and then make them accountable, is what possibly today is the common leadership trait that we can today see across the table. So
transparency within the company.
Right. We've got like less than 5 minutes now to close this. Any thoughts? Any of you would like to go ahead? Halima, over to you.
I just wanted to add that whilst I agree with all of this.
Can you turn the mic to your mouth?
That's okay?
Perfect, thank you.
So democratizing the data and empowering the employees and so on. So what we do is, we don't even wait for, making all these data collection redundant because it's such a time-consuming exercise. What we do is, we don't even give employees reports and give them accessibility. What we do is we go one step further and think about what is the kind of data that they absolutely must see every day, and then that gets system generated, emailed into their inbox, so they must action it. So for example, we are very particular about our shortages on delivery. our fulfillment rate should be at 99% target. So just saying that really doesn't mean anything. So what we do is our procurement team gets an early morning email with the shortages that are relevant to the products they're responsible for, and then they must do something about it. So for example, our express delivery team must put the express 2-hour delivery within a slot. And if it doesn't happen, there's a system-generated email again to them, and then there is an automatic refund to the customers who are, delivered outside that boundary. So whether it's a driver or the picker, the data goes to them. So our drivers and pickers, when they open their app first thing in the morning, they get a barometer of where they have been for their achievement of the day or the week, and where the average has been and where the top has been. And so they kind of see that if the drivers are given a metric that guys bring the boxes back, then that's the first thermometer they see first thing in the morning, that how many boxes. So that depends on which department we're talking about, but the data actually goes to them, so they have no excuse that I didn't get to slice and dice the data. And then we wait for entrepreneurship to hopefully happen.
Right, I think what you just spoke about is what we call, in technical terms, prescriptive analytics. Because in the past, the dashboards used to provide the information that you needed, which looks at the trends and does the analysis. But once you have the information in front of you in form of a dashboard report, a human has to make a decision what to do out of it. Today, the technology allows you to take that report and turn it back into some prescribed actions. So glad to know that that's already in place at your organizations, Halima. Any more closing comments?
I think the power of the young generation is very important to an industry like mine, to have them thinking to buy jewelry on early stage. As historically happened, a jewelry store is always a very illiterate store, very dark, very not so clean, and so on. So that images has started to change, and the last 10 years, we have seen a big revolution happening on the jewelry industry, part of it because the international big brands has started putting jewelry into their business, and that has helped our industry, which present the unbranded jewelry present 98% of the world jewelry business. So those, keeping in mind the young generation, the MIS, are very, very, very top priority in our industry. And one more last thing is we should also, through people like you, encourage shopping malls, wherever they are, they should give opportunities to local brands. And I think some way, somehow, this is intentionally and unintentionally not being taken in consideration. And I think through these important people here, there should be a minimum of consideration for local brands to allow them to grow. Otherwise, if I just go to him and he says, oh, this is a new company, this is only 2 years old. I need a brand, I need your profile, and so where are you giving me a chance to survive or to grow? So this is, I take this opportunity to put it on. Thank you.
Well taken. We've just...
I was going to say, because Renata keeps on putting her microphone on because I know she wants to say something.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Just summarizing what we heard just now in this last round mirrors our experiences with our CEO leadership consultancies that we do. And we call it EAT, and to reflect the customer side, consumer side, and the internal side. And EAT stands for that everyone, every time, everywhere, at all times, has access to the information, the empowerment, and the development as consumers or as employees that they require to succeed. And I'm really glad that, just listening to you, that this is really ingrained, and we hope that we see it not only more and more on the consumer side, but also on the employee side. Amazing. Eat might be a motto for the next few minutes.
I wish we could continue talking. It got really exciting towards the end. But I'm sure for the panelists around the table, you could understand what the thought process each of us carries. There are some commonalities in the approach that we make, and there are some differentiators that differentiates us in terms of our decision-making process. And I think for the audience at large, I hope that this was empowering, but at the same time enriching discussion for you to take back home with some notes. I have definitely made 4 pages of notes that I'm taking for myself. But thank you, all the panelists, and really appreciate your time around the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.